Nature is Nonpartisan is her new organization. Meg is an environmentalist, Meg Haywood Sullivan. She has a unique knowledge of how to get important messages to people. She has a master's degree from Harvard. She has an activism history that's quite impressive, especially since she started as a snow sports photographer. You know, those action photos of people snowboarding and skiing. And she saw the devastating effects of climate change while she was covering so much of that. And she has been involved in a nearly 2-decade commitment to climate advocacy. How about it for Meg Haywood Sullivan, everybody?
Oh, you even tracked down one of my old snowboard photos.
Yeah, it's what we do, Meg. It's what we do. We track down old photos.
Oh, you do your homework. Love that. Blast from the past.
So, you know, what's so fascinating to me about this effort is that it is truly bipartisan. Nature is nonpartisan.org is your organization. And I know you've done a lot of work. You've founded this Plastic Free Fridays idea. You sort of have begun, I think, different ways to message positively to protect the environment. These are, you know, tough times for your effort. I wonder if you can tell me about, you know, Nature is Nonpartisan and what you hope, because it legitimately is nonpartisan. You have GOP buy-in on this.
Yes, 1,000%. And our founder, Benji Backer. So I didn't found the organization. I'm chief marketing officer. I'm part of the founding team, though. Benji Backer, he's a conservative. I'm very much a liberal, and we've been following each other's work for a long, long time now in the environmental activism space. And both of us, like our whole team actually has been really frustrated about the environmental movement, in particular, the climate movement too, and being able to reach audiences that really needed to be reached. You know, I think coming from the left, you know, we do such a great job of being in our own echo chambers when it comes to the environment, and really taking a chance to get across the line so we can actually get policy happening. You know, this flip-flopping in between administrations, you know, good things get passed, a new administration comes in, rolls it all back. It's so not constructive to what we're needing to do for our planet right now. And unfortunately, it's wasting time. And so the only way to actually get policy to happen is to have a long-term approach. And that's why we founded Nature is Nonpartisan. Historically, the environment was not a partisan issue. Think about the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act. These were all completely nonpartisan efforts. You know, the percentage of Americans identifying as environmentalists in the 90s was around like 78%. Let that sink in. It was not a partisan issue like it is today. Unfortunately, the environment has been caught in this, you know, political culture wars, which it has nothing to do with. And so we're really focused on leaning into that, leaning into the cultural change and dialing it back so that conservatives, liberals, people across the political spectrum can identify and see themselves in this movement, and also push for policy to happen. You know, we're all about holding our leadership accountable to make sure environmental action happens, because that's what the people want.
So, what does that mean? Environmental leadership, and I imagine you have to have some kind of agenda that you guys both agree on. That is to say, the conservatives and the liberals, if you want to put it that way. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So I'm glad you brought this up, because so much of it is framing. You know, think about someone who is more right-leaning, who might be a farmer, how they see themselves, you know, interacting with nature is a lot different than, say, you know, the quote unquote coastal elite. There's equal opportunity, equal, you know, benefit to having the environmental knowledge and, you know, working with the land. The amount of knowledge that that person has is equal to, if not greater than, scientific knowledge. It's just coming at it from a different perspective. And so what we're really focused on is making sure that folks like that farmer, like that person in the coastal elite, see themselves in this space and vote, you know, vote for the environment when it comes time for that. Because ultimately, you know, I always quote the Scientific American article a couple of years ago, but it highlights research from the Teddy Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. 72% of hunters and anglers believe that climate change is happening. And within that segment, a whopping 74% agree that it's human induced. So these are folks that are voting against what they truly believe for nature. And it might just be voting on one specific topic. We need to elevate the environment up to one of the top 1, 2, 3 things that people vote for when it comes time for the polls. And making nature nonpartisan again is really one of the keys to it.
So when you see what's happening now with the dismantling of the EPA, in my judgment, I mean, it is being dismantled. The cuts, just the fiscal cuts, are immense. But beyond that, they're going for a rollback on basic EPA provisions governing water and toxins in the air and soil. Where do you guys land on that, and how do you push back on that if you want to?
Absolutely. And so I kind of want to chat about the organization a little bit. So first of all, we're working on cultural change, which means really reaching across the aisle to work with conservatives, work with liberals, bring people together. Secondly, we're taking that work to then influence and highlight Americans' need for this and want for this so that their leadership pushes for it. So it's really like a two-pronged approach on the policy side and on the cultural side of things. So what we're doing is a long-term play. If Kamala administration was in office, we'd be doing something similar. It would be looking very differently because of her stance on things. But we are looking long-term beyond this administration. So we are trying to focus on celebrating wins and not be against things, because being against things right now, you look at the news every day, there's like 10 new things that are happening, that rollbacks, etc. If we focus on that, we're not going to be working towards our long-term play of working across party lines, getting actual policy passed, showing that people want policy being passed, and celebrating the leadership that's getting that in action. So, for instance, right now there's 13 bills being proposed right now that are nonpartisan environmental bills. No one's talking about it because the news is really all over the place, and I think it's kind of designed to be like that right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, et cetera, and so we're pushing against the noise and focusing on the wins, focusing on the positivity, and focusing on the synergy. And then we're also supporting other grassroots orgs that are doing other things that are more boots on the ground, et cetera. But we are really hyper focused to stay in our lane and to stay celebrating these wins and encourage more of them, more bipartisan action.
How long has Nature is Nonpartisan been around?
We've been busy. We launched end of March. So yes, we're just getting our feet underneath us, but we've already been hitting the ground running. To be totally transparent, we were the first environmental organization, and actually it's maybe not necessarily surprising, but the first environmental organization allowed into the West Wing this administration.
Wow.
And we hadn't even been launched. So we're hoping that we can get and push to make sure some environmental action happens. I know there's a ton of rollback and a lot of uncertainty and negative news out there, but if there's 100 steps back in this administration, if we can put 3 steps forward and have that be nonpartisan steps, that's a win in our book.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but it is true. We're bleeding out environmentally, I think, with this administration's agenda. And if you can maybe make us bleed out a little less, I guess I'll take that. I mean, incremental progress. And you can always count on my audience to make you feel good about your effort. Here is Randy, who says there will be no environmental advances made during the Trump administration.
Well, Randy, I'm so happy you chimed in, because I want to tell you that we've had equal pushback and significant pushback on both the right and the left. We have the right saying they're wolves in sheep's clothing, pushing the Green New Deal, etc. We have the right saying our founder, Benji, is a fake conservative. We have folks on the left saying I'm a sellout, like I'm working with the devil. Like it's, I think it shows that we've hit a really important moment in the history of this nation, that we're getting equal hate from both sides. I think that means we're walking the line well, and it means that there's work to do, and that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, because we need to work together. It's broken. And unfortunately, it's caught in the cultural wars, and how we do that, we're working towards that. So we
I'd
hope
love
you,
to
Randy.
see. I'd love to see you. Yeah. Well, Randy, you can count on him. I mean, he's not wrong that there is a stern view of anything environmental from this administration. And
Yeah.
CC says, "Be careful, Meg. They will use meetings and any of your documentation to discredit you. Hold firm, girlfriend. Be on guard," says CC. Do you feel that level of, I mean, you have some pretty, the one thing I'll say about Meg is she has some pretty big people from GOP on her side, or at least when that's how you got into the Oval Office. There's some
Yes.
pretty big names who are associated with your effort.
There are. And I mean, look at our board right now. We have, so the organization split 50-50, 1-to-1, left, right, etc. We have made a very conservative, yeah, see, we cross out like our political affiliation and show what we're really about. I'm a snowboarder, you know, Benji's a trailblazer, etc.
Yeah.
We've had some fun with it, but our board is seriously impressive, and they are across the political spectrum. And I have to say, some of our board members have reached out to us and said this was the most contentious board they've ever joined. You know, we
Wow.
have Jack Selby, part from Peter, you know, Teal. We have, you know, the former head of the Sierra Club on our board. We've had our board members tell us verbally that this is the most contentious thing that they've ever done. And I think that shows the reason why we all need to do this. And same with our activists, and same with the people like our you know, the celebrities in our network, etc. Like, they have gotten such pushback, but I think that shows the reason why this needs to exist. Nature wasn't a partisan thing. We can bring us together, you know, with our shared love of nature, and really push to make sure that action happens. Because ultimately, I don't care who's in office, we need to get action for nature happening.
Of
And
course,
it
that's
should
true.
last
Yeah.
beyond this administration. This is something that whatever administration comes in next, we're going to keep on keeping on. And hopefully this is a groundswell. And our goal is to aim high and make this a national movement.
So, Meg, there will be another administration after this, is what you're saying?
Yes, there will, and I'm going to vote for it.
Signed up on their website, says Gordon. Hi, Meg, says Dan. You've got some love here.
Oh, I love hearing that.
I think people recognize that this is a particularly uphill climb.
Yes.
And but I like that you have high-profile people from across the aisle, to use the oft-used phrase. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we hadn't even launched yet and we had access to the White House. I mean, like I said, are we going to change everything? No, we can't. Are we going to be able to get, you know, water resources, natural disaster resilience, public-private land support? We're pushing for these very specific things, and if we can get that passed, that is a massive win. And we're actually very close. So TBD, we'll keep you posted, but in the next few months, there could be something happening for the environment with this administration. And
Nature
I'm very
is
hopeful.
nonpartisan.org is the name of the website. You can reach it. We'll have it underneath this video. Also, if you want to click through and sign up, nature is nonpartisan.org. And of course, Meg is meghaywoodsullivan.com. And that is...
oh, thanks for sharing my photos.
Yeah. Look at you. You're the real thing. Across the world, fair trade. We have a fair trade conversation coming up with the guy who founded the fair trade movement next week.
Love that. I'll tune in.
So, yeah. Anyway, Meg, love that you spent some time with us. Thank you for being here, and wish you the very best. Do stay in touch. I'm anxious to learn more. Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Meg Haywood Sullivan. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.